Dwight called me yesterday because about my take about the Nigels.
Okay.
And, he's just like, oh, but it's two different shades of red. I'm like, okay, because it's two different materials. So, of course, it's going to look different, but it's the same color. But, not too many people have really given me too much grief about my take. But no, I just,
Right, because most people don't even have them.
yeah. So why get wound up about a shit you don't have, right?
Exactly.
I just, collaborations to me used to be something special. Like I remember it was that 2010 to 2012, 13, where to me, like that was like the peak of collaborations, mostly with SBs, you know, and there was a lot of thought that went into it. Even when you had shoes that were primarily one color, like when you think of, I think of the Babe, the Blue Ox Dunks, right? Primarily blue, but you got the swoosh with the horns, you got the logo on the heel, you got the white tongue with the what's that print? The lumberjack
Oh yeah, with the flannel.
flannel
Yeah.
interior, and then but the upper was like made out of like a cowhide material, and then like the flaps had the pink on the
Yeah.
inside. The kind of
There was a lot of, you could tell there was a lot.
there was a
of
lot
thought.
of thought and
Yeah.
detail into it. It wasn't just like they set a timer down, like you got 10 minutes.
Go! Faster. 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 Are you done? What is it? What have you done?
Well,
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I wonder how much time, because it's what you always say too when you talk about like with the design process.
yeah.
I wonder how much time maybe they had to be able to come up with that. Like, where,
No, and I agree.
could it have been a rushed, process?
Yeah.
Could have been. I don't know. You don't know.
But I feel like I would have did. I feel like even still, I feel like
still
if
would
you
have did more.
no, because I feel like if Jordan Brown was to come to me and say, okay, we want to do a collab with you, already in my head, I got ideas floating around. It's just picking one, right, and then from there, kind of visualizing how that would look, right? Taking like deconstructing the shoe and then putting it back together to tell the story of whatever your collab is about. And so, because that's how I approach my Nike IDs. It's like, okay, what are my options as far as colors, right? And then from there, okay, this is the shoe that I'm gonna design. Like the Air Force Ones, when I did my Roger Rabbit Air Force Ones,
Yeah.
it was just like, okay, based on the materials and colors, boom. I just did a Air Max I showed y'all last week. They had the Air Max right now, or Nike by You, they have the Air Maxes with the animal print. And so I based my shoe off of Zookeeper's uniform. So, it made sense. And so, I think of these different things, and to see people putting, the bare minimum of a shoe out there, and then hoping that whatever story they contrive sells the shoe for them. Like I said, like the shoe, like if I put my Roger Rabbit shoe on the table, you can be like, okay, like that's different,
It gives you an opportunity to be able to tell the story of what you were.
It's a conversation starter, right? The shoe should be a conversation starter. If you put a shoe on the table, you should be like, you might not know what the fuck it is, but you're going to be like, what is that?
Right.
And then that gives me a chance to give you the context of the story so that you fully understand what that shoe is about. If I put that Nigel shoe on the table, you're going to just think that that's another Jordan 4 release, right? Because there's nothing about that shoe that stands out other than it being like basically one solid color. But like I said, I've seen solid color shoes before. That's not moving me.
Well, to be fair, if nobody told me that it was a brick, like that's like what it was supposed to be based on.
Oh my God.
Like what you said, I never would have thought that.
I would have rolled my eyes, because if it was me, I would have made like the stitches cream so that, now it looked like the mortar between the bricks. You know what I'm saying? Or I would have given it some type of trim. You know what I'm saying? Like I was talking to Dwight, our friend of the show. He was like, oh, but it has 3M. And I'm like, like if that's the bar now where it's like, okay, well, they threw 3M on it. Oh, shit, take my money. That's a pretty low fucking bar.
They can throw 3M on stuff that they want to throw 3M on is what we're
I've seen 3M on the shoe
But I
before.
feel like that's what we're gathering from now. Remember how many retros come out that were like, well, damn, you didn't put the 3M on there that it had on there. You took it off, or, vice versa. But it's like, again, you're able to put 3M on whatever you want to put 3M on.
Yeah. But no, I mean, when you take 3M off, it's like you're taking away from me as opposed to.
Right.
And then Dwight's counter argument, well, we never see 3M on the floor. And I'm like,
why are you the way that you are? Honestly.
okay, like, you know, first of all, when I think of bricks, I don't think of 3M. I don't think of reflective material.
It's got
so it's just like
the floodlight
yeah
on over it.
Like, and I, you know, he has some, you know, and I'm sure Nigel has some explanation for it, which, okay.
Well,
and I'm not mad at it. Like I said, the story and the idea is great. Okay, cool. Especially with his background. Understood. But that doesn't mean that the execution of the shoe is just as good as the story to me. Like, I can have a great story. Like, there's a lot of people that have written great books. That doesn't mean it's going to be a great movie when they try to, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, it's just one of those things where I just look at that shoe and I just, like, the same thing I tell Virgil. Like, I just expect creatives to be creative.
That's ignorant.
I don't think that's too much to ask.
Yeah.
Like I said, when I go, if you was to go on Instagram and just look up hashtag Nike by you and to see all the designs that people design, right? You'd be like, damn, you know what I'm saying? Our collabs do suck. Because they put way more thought and effort with the limited options that they have. When these people supposedly, now once again, I don't know what Jordan Brand allowed or didn't allow, but it does often feel like they give the collaborators a 10-minute timer to come up with their shit.
Yeah, and that's what I said. Like, who knows? That may have been what happened. What I think though too is Nigel had the Jordan 1 that had like the dirt stain on it.
That was another.
But at least I'll say with that, I can at least see the creativity or the thought behind that being on that shoe versus what we got with the 4. Right?
Shit.
No.
Really?
No, because dude, I could walk outside right now and see a whole bunch of scuffed up sneakers. That's not, you know, I feel like we give, maybe the bar is just on the ground right now. Like, I just feel like we don't force people to be great. We just kind of accept mediocrity.
Well, but I guess
and
the
they
other
try to
thing,
shoehorn it into greatness.
But then the other thing we'd have to ask ourselves would be, I think you may have alluded to this before when you kind of like open this up. Is everybody meant to have a collab?
No. You could be dope as fuck. That don't mean you should have your own shoe.
That's
like,
kind of that's like,
sorry.
At the end of the day, like, yeah, I thought his Jordan 1, I thought that was decent.
Yeah.
I thought it was good, especially in comparison to this Jordan 4.
Yeah.
But this is one of those things where it's like, and this isn't me throwing any shade, you know, against Nigel Sylvester. Like, I don't know the guy. I don't know any of the people that know him. But is he really, you know, up there to be able to have his own collab?
I mean,
to be able to design a sneaker.
I'm gonna be honest. Outside of sneakers, I don't know much about Nigel Collab.
Yeah.
I mean Nigel Sylvester. You know, I'm aware of who he is.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I wasn't somebody. I still don't follow him like that. So, and that's not a knock on him. I'm sure he's great at what he does.
That's like, you know, I could sit here and say like
I don't watch soccer, but I mean, I'm sure there's great. Like, what's that guy Beckham?
David Beckham.
I'm sure he's not losing sleep over me not watching him. You know what I'm saying? So,
well, but when I think of collabs, I always kind of like, I know you talk about like the Nike Dunk, you know, the SB Dunks when they were doing their collabs with a lot of the skate shops and things like that. But also think of like that time frame, like Pharrell, when Pharrell had like all of these different Adidas,
the ice creams and shit.
Yeah, like to me, like when I think about somebody that is like, that's a person that should have a collab.
Yeah,
like I think of somebody like that. Like, what are you doing from a sense of fashion? Like,
even
how are you able to?
Because didn't he come up with all the different color Stan Smiths, or was that the Gazelles or Stan Smiths?
Stan Smiths.
Yeah, like even because I remember bitching about that. I'm like anybody can walk into a room and say, okay,
but
make shoes in the same colors as this crayon box. Like, that's not that.
I'm not saying everything is a hit, but I'm saying like in terms of like who I would say like, hey, that's a person I could see.
Yeah,
you know, we passing the baton to make a collab. I don't know if I feel like, is Nigel Sylvester that type of person where it's like, yeah, you should have a collab.
But I don't think, even when you say like fashion, like I'm not going. Obviously, sneakers and fashion intersect, right? But that doesn't mean like that every high end fashion correctista deserves their own sneaker.
Yeah, no,
either.
Correct. I agree. I agree with you on that.
Because what works for Louis Vuitton doesn't always translate for sneakers. Like to this day, I do not understand outside of it being super limited. I do not understand the hype for the Dior ones. They're not horrible. They're not ugly, but they're not the greatest Jordan 1 ever either.
Pretty basic.
Very. I think a lot of times it comes down to name too, because we talked about a couple of shows and I even posted a clip where it's like the Watch the Balloon where the guy was like, but these are Dolce and Gabbana.
I mean, he's Dolce Gabbana.
But nobody give a flying fuck. He's Dolce Gabbana. Dolce and Gabbana more important than you see in my eyes. How the fuck is Dolce and Gabbana more important than your eyes? You came on this show for dating and you getting rejected because you wearing glasses. Them bitches would have flew off my head the second. It's because of the glasses. Them bitches would have been across the stage, talking about Dolce and Gabbana. Now you gonna be lonely in Gabbana. I don't know what the fuck. I ain't have a punchline for that. But he ain't gonna have nobody. He gonna be back alone talking about some damn Dolce and Gabbana.
But they look really nice.
He looking at us. We don't give a fuck. I'm sick and tired of people.
Yes. Like I stated, he didn't say a word, so I can only go based off of what I see. I did not like the glasses.
I feel you.
So
I mean, he's Dolce Gabbana.
But they look
he's Dolce
really
Gabbana.
nice.
Don't look at us with that. He Dolce Gabbana. Take them dumbass shits off and chuck them. That's the second girl that rejected you because you want to be wearing some glasses indoors. And then you going to tell us they Dolce. Now you going to be lonely talking about some goddamn they Dolce and Gabbana. They ain't more important than you finding a wife, you freaky dog.
You feel me? That ain't 14 karat gold either. But not mine.
Look at her face. You're a materialistic fool. Nobody care. You the only one laughing. I hate this guy. Somebody get him off the goddamn show.
Saying the name of the brand does not absolve it of being trash. Like,
right.
You know what I'm saying? It's not a shield for to avoid criticism. Like, they can drop ugly shit. Jordan Brand has made ugly shit. Still a fan of the brand. Michael Jackson. Like, he did make Blood on the Dance Floor. Wasn't his greatest album.
That's ignorant.
But he's still Michael Jackson. You know what I'm saying? So
it wasn't that bad.
Okay. So
it wasn't on par with the first four.
You got more songs that I won't listen to than I will on your album. Yeah, that's. No.
I mean, I can name a rapper right now that everybody says that I say that about, that everybody would think I'm crazy when I say it. Kendrick.
You son of a bitch.
You really want to smoke.